Let's take a look at processing command line parameters. So we have a project here with nothing in it except that it has a main, and main actually has a parameter. It's an array of strings called args. So we can use a for each loop to process that array of strings. I'll just call each of those arg. And write them out. Okay, so let's go ahead and run the code. And not surprisingly, since there's no code there, it doesn't print anything out because there are no command line arguments. So let's go ahead and run the executable from the command line. And here we see the executable that we just created. So let's go ahead and double click on it. And you may have noticed that the command window comes up, but immediately disappears. So now let's run that from a command window in a way that we can actually see the results. So I'm going to press Shift and right click, and I can select, well, on this computer it's Open PowerShell here. On your computer, you'll probably see Open Command Window here. I'm going to go ahead and select that. And it brings up a command window, and I want to run the executable in question. And let's just do a directory first. And we see that what I'm looking for is demo commandline.exe right here. So I'm going to run that. And of course, I don't get any output because I didn't have any command line parameters. So let's rerun it and put in some command line parameters. And there you see those printed out one at a time. And of course, these are just regular strings, so you can put anything that you like in there. So for example, if you wanted to put in forward slashes or hyphens or any of the other command symbology that's typically associated with command lines, you have that option. And they come out just as you see there. So then you could then process those command line parameters to affect how your executable executes. The last piece of this, of course, is how do you do this from within Visual Studio. So if we go back to Visual Studio, when I run the executable, I still don't get any output because I didn't give it any command line parameters. So the question is, how do you get those in Visual Studio? And the answer is it's part of the build process. So you go to the project in question, right-click on it, and select Properties. And underneath Properties, we're going to select Debug. And there you see in the middle, command line arguments. And so I can type those in. And now when I run the program from within Visual Studio, I do see those command line arguments, and they can be processed as we saw earlier. So that's command line arguments in Visual Studio in C#.